Hello, my friends. I'm back with another Washington Bite, another bit of insight and encouragement and direction with regard to Israel, the Middle East, and U.S. foreign policy. On my heart, above all other things, all other threats to Israel, and especially to America, is the threat coming from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I'd like to tell you, if it were true, that I was wrong. And Secretary Kerry and the State Department have done a good thing by negotiating this 6-month interim agreement that runs out July 21st, and with the hope of a further agreement to impel or encourage Iran to desist from its development of nuclear weapons. But sadly, but predictably, the situation has just gotten worse. In addition to the items that I've mentioned before, that Iran not only is developing nuclear weapons, but they're clear about what they want to use them on, or on whom they want to use them. It's Israel, the Jewish people, and you and I here in America in the West. That's the real problem. Many nations have nuclear weapons, and many more could have them in a very short time if they felt it was in their national interest and that their security compelled it. But we're not concerned about most of them. We're concerned about the Islamic Republic of Iran because it is a hateful theocracy in which not only the leaders like President Rouhani and the Ayatollahs, but civil, clerical, and military leaders regularly say the most hateful things about Israel, the Jewish people, and about you and I, America, in the West. In addition, if that weren't enough, they oppress their own people, and as we've seen, imprison Christian ministers, and others go there with good hearts trying to help the Iranian people. If that wasn't enough, they also are still the foremost state sponsor of terror and dictators in the Middle East, and I dare say in the whole world. So there, the government of Iran is sponsoring shipments of arms to terrorist groups from Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria to Hamas and other hate-filled groups in the Gaza Strip. Last year we saw naval units at a secret Navy base, and it was very exciting when we saw those very units employed in the Red Sea to cut off an arms shipment full of hundreds of missiles that were going to Port Sudan. The ship was going to Port Sudan, and these missiles were intended for Gaza, from which they would be fired at harmless Israeli civilians in the south of Israel. So thank God Israel's defense forces are on their guard, are well prepared, are in the top 3 or 4 in the world in terms of defensive capability, amazingly, and are ready to do whatever needs to be done. But I think it's incumbent on us to say to our Secretary of State, to say to our President, enough is enough. Look at all these ways in which the Islamic Republic of Iran is countering all international norms and really poking their fingers in our eyes and those of the P+5 who with Secretary Kerry are negotiating with the Iranian negotiators. Oh, the latest really crazy and antagonistic thing that President Rouhani did was to appoint as their ambassador, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, the man who was in charge of the hostage-taking and imprisonment of hundreds of our diplomats when the Iranian Revolution took place back in the days of President Carter's incumbency. So that is just another slap in the face which the Iranian leadership, such as the Iranian leadership regularly gives us, but somehow I don't know why, but you can't seem to insult. They can't seem to insult the Secretary of State or the President sufficiently that they rise up and say enough is enough. These talks are going nowhere, and you are not our friends. You are not interested in peace. You are not interested in stopping your nuclear armament. You are foes. You are enemies. You are antagonists, and you make it clear to us every day that the state of war that has existed since the creation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, at least by your lights, has not abated at all. So let's keep the pressure on. Let's have our Senate, let's tell our senators and tell our representatives that they must do everything they can to keep the sanctions on Iran and to recognize these other hateful and illegal intentions and actions of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I believe that by the time we go to Israel for our next wonderful mission in the first 11 days of August, with an add-on to Eilat in the south on the Red Sea of Israel and to Petra in Jordan, by that time, not only will the peace talks, negotiations between Israel and the PLO have fallen apart like sand through the fingers of the State Department. That's already done. But all the negotiations with Iran, sadly, will have produced nothing except more months of delay in our doing something and more opportunity for Iran to develop the nuclear weapons and hide them deep underground. But I'm telling you, we are going to see the Israelis, civilian and military, and the forces of the IDF, who, if need be, will do what needs to be done to defend and protect Israel, just as they did when they hit the Osirak nuclear reactor in a surgical strike in 1982, and then again when they hit the Syrian nuclear reactor on the Euphrates in 2007. I hope that they will not have to go to war. I hope that they will not have to do something major, military, and overt. But one way or another, Israel is going to defend herself, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the Congress, as the representatives of the American people, defend and protect and support Israel's legitimate actions in self-defense. These are very somber issues that we've been discussing, but that's what we're about. But I hope you'll come with us in the first 11 days of August, if not for the add-on to Eilat and Petra. We're going to explore these very serious issues, but I'm going to tell you, I feel sure we're going to have a great time and a very enjoyable mission as well. So you're more than welcome. Please go to our websites, see what it's all about, and I hope you'll join us. God bless you, and we'll talk again next week.